She was mocked, betrayed, and stripped of everything she loved. Her pain looked endless, but just when life tried to break her, triumph came and shattered every chain. This is not just a story, it's an inspiration that will leave you speechless. Stay with me till the end, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful stories like this one. Kayama's life took a sharp turn the night her father, a respected schoolteacher in Enugu, died suddenly of a heart attack. His passing left a void that was bigger than grief. It left her family stranded without direction or provision. As the first daughter, all eyes turned to her. She was barely 21, still trying to finish her university education, yet she was suddenly expected to be the breadwinner. Her mother had died years earlier, leaving behind only memories and a set of jewelry she treasured. Now, with her father gone, Kayama was left with 3 younger siblings who looked up to her with innocent eyes that asked a painful question: what happens to us now? Her uncle, the man everyone thought would step in to help, did the opposite. He stormed into their home only days after the funeral, demanding the house documents. He claimed their father had debts, waved a stack of forged papers, and declared ownership of the property. Kayama begged him for time, pleaded for mercy, but he showed none. With her siblings clutching her hands, she watched as their belongings were thrown into the street. The neighbors whispered pity, some offered food, but none could give them a roof. That night, Kayama sat on a mat under the open sky with her siblings huddled around her. She tried to be strong, but silent tears streamed down her cheeks. Her pain was endless, yet she vowed that this would not be the end of their story. Determined to survive, Kayama sought help from relatives. She knocked on the doors of cousins and aunts, only to be told, "We have our own problems." Her uncle, who now lived comfortably in their father's house, sneered whenever she tried to confront him. To feed her siblings, she took on odd jobs, selling akara in the morning, washing clothes for neighbors during the day, and helping in a small booker at night. Her hands, once soft, became rough. Her body ached, but she refused to complain. Her younger brother, Chisholm, often cried at night. "Sister, why is Uncle so wicked? Didn't Papa always help him?" Those words cut deeper than any blade. Kayama had no answer. The betrayal of blood weighed on her, but what hurt more was the mockery. Former family friends avoided her, as though poverty was a disease. People whispered when she passed, "That's the girl whose uncle chased her out." In her quiet moments, Kayama prayed. She asked God for strength, for a sign that the suffering would not last forever. Yet, each dawn only seemed to bring fresh trials. Kayama eventually managed to leave Enugu for Lagos, hoping the city of dreams would offer opportunities. But Lagos had teeth, and it bit hard. She found work as a cleaner in a large law firm in Victoria Island. Every morning, she wore her faded black skirt and white blouse, carrying her mop and bucket through the sparkling glass doors. While others wore designer suits and heels, she was invisible, except when mocked. The lawyers whispered as she passed. One laughed loudly, "From the look of her, she probably lives in a face-me-face you." Another said, "These cleaners always think they can marry up, but they should know their place." Kayama swallowed the insults, reminding herself that every paycheck meant food for her siblings. But deep inside, she longed for dignity. She longed for the day she wouldn't have to bow her head when she entered a building. One evening, she overheard a junior lawyer named Kunnel standing up for her when others mocked. "You all don't know her story. She works harder than any of us," he said. Those words warmed her heart, but she pushed the thought aside. Life had taught her not to expect kindness. For weeks, Kunnel's kindness grew into friendship. He often lingered after work, asking about her day, offering her books to read, and sometimes sneaking her extra food from office events. Slowly, Kayama allowed herself to dream again. Could love be possible even for someone like her? One evening, Kunnel introduced her to his mother. It was the worst mistake. The wealthy woman looked Kayama up and down with disgust. "This is the girl you've been talking about? A cleaner?" She laughed bitterly, calling neighbors to witness the shame. In front of everyone, she told Kayama, "Don't mistake my son's kindness for love. Girls like you should know their level. Don't reach where your hands can't touch." Kunnel tried to defend her, but his mother's words crushed Kayama. She returned home broken, her siblings noticing her silence. She didn't tell them what happened, she couldn't. That night, she cried silently into her pillow. Poverty had stolen not just her dignity, but even the chance to be loved. Oh. Just when Kyoma thought life couldn't get worse, debt collectors arrived at her tiny one-room apartment. She had borrowed money to pay her sister's school fees, but couldn't meet the deadline. The men shouted, insulted her, and dragged out the little furniture she owned into the muddy street. Her siblings clung to her skirt, weeping as neighbors watched the humiliation unfold. One of the men pushed her so hard she fell to the ground. Laughter echoed around her. For the first time, Kyoma screamed. Not at the men, not at the neighbors, but at life itself. That night, she sat in the darkness, her siblings asleep beside her. She stared at the ceiling and whispered, "God, why me? Is this all my life will ever be?" Her pain felt endless, her body weak, her spirit nearly broken. She was at the breaking point, standing at the thin line between survival and surrender. Yet, deep inside, a tiny spark refused to die. The morning after the debt collector's humiliation, Kyoma opened the small metal box hidden under her bed. Inside lay her mother's jewelry, simple gold bangles, a necklace, and a pair of earrings. They were the last memories of her late mother. She had promised herself she would never part with them. But her siblings' hungry faces left her no choice. Chisholm's school had already sent a final warning letter. If she didn't pay the fees, he would be sent away. Her younger sister, Ifunanya, had stopped attending classes because she didn't have textbooks. With trembling hands, Kyoma wrapped the jewelry in a piece of cloth and went to Balagan Market. The gold buyer eyed the items, weighed them, and offered an amount far below their worth. Tears filled Kyoma's eyes as she handed them over. She returned home with enough money to pay school fees and buy food. Her siblings cheered with joy, but they never knew what she had given up. That night, Kyoma cried silently, her heart heavy with the sacrifice. She whispered to herself, "If my pain can give them a future, then it is worth it." Oh. One rainy afternoon, as Kyoma cleaned the law firm's reception area, she overheard two senior lawyers discussing a secretary position at Aid Banjo Holdings, a powerful business empire. The pay was 10 times what she earned. Desperation fueled her courage. After the lawyers left, she wrote down the company's address. That evening, in her only decent outfit, she walked into Aid Banjo Holdings and requested to apply. The receptionist laughed at her torn shoes but handed her a form. To her surprise, Chief Aid Banjo himself appeared during her interview. A man in his 60s with piercing eyes, he studied her resume. "You don't have the qualifications. Why should I hire you?" Kyoma raised her chin. "Because I will work harder than anyone else. I don't want charity. I just need a chance." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he chuckled. "You remind me of myself when I was young. You're hired. But don't disappoint me." That night, Kyoma knelt beside her bed, tears rolling down her cheeks. For the first time in years, she felt a tiny flicker of hope. Working at Aid Banjo Holdings was a different world. The glass towers, luxury cars, and designer suits made her feel small at first. But Kyoma worked tirelessly, arriving before dawn, leaving after dusk, never complaining. Slowly, colleagues began to respect her. But not everyone welcomed her rise. Chief Adebanjo's son, Tolu, noticed her. Handsome, arrogant, and used to getting his way, he cornered her one evening. "You're too pretty to waste your time filing papers. I could make your life easier. One word, and you'll have cars, clothes, and an apartment in Ikoyi." Kyoma's heart pounded. The offer was tempting. She thought of her siblings, of hunger and unpaid bills. But then she remembered her mother's words, "Your dignity is your crown. Never trade it for gold." She looked Tolu in the eye. "I'm not for sale." His smile vanished. "You'll regret this." From that day, whispers spread through the office, rumors that she was sleeping her way up, lies clearly planted by Tolu. Kyoma kept her head high, but the stares burned her skin. Oh! The storm came without warning. One Monday morning, Kyoma walked into the office only to find police officers waiting. Chief Adebanjo's accountant pointed at her. "That's the girl who stole company funds." Gasps echoed. Colleagues whispered. Before she could speak, officers grabbed her by the arm, dragging her out. Tolu stood nearby, smirking. At the station, Kyoma pleaded her innocence. I never touched a kobo. But the forged evidence was strong. It looked like her signature was on withdrawal slips. Chief Aide Banjo himself visited the station. He looked at her, disappointment in his eyes. I trusted you, Kyoma. If you're guilty, God will judge you. Those words crushed her. She was thrown into a cell, the stench of urine and despair surrounding her. Her siblings cried outside the gate, begging officers to release her. For the first time, Kyoma wondered if fighting for dignity was worth it. That night, she prayed through tears, God, if this is the end, let me die. But if my life still has meaning, show me. Oh. After 2 nights in the cell, Kyoma was released on bail, thanks to a kind female officer who believed in her innocence. But the damage was done. The entire neighborhood buzzed with gossip, the girl is a thief. Unable to face the shame, she wandered aimlessly through Lagos streets. The weight of poverty, betrayal, heartbreak, and now disgrace pressed on her chest. Her mind whispered dangerous thoughts. She found herself standing on the edge of the third mainland bridge, staring into the dark waters below. Maybe it's better this way, she thought. My siblings will survive somehow. At least my pain will end. As she prepared to step forward, a wrinkled hand gripped her shoulder. She turned to see an elderly woman with kind eyes. My daughter, no pain lasts forever. If you jump, you end your story. But if you stay, you may live to see triumph. Those words broke her. She collapsed into the woman's arms, sobbing. For the first time, someone had reminded her that her story wasn't over yet. The elderly woman who stopped Kyoma on the bridge introduced herself as Mama Grace. She lived modestly in Surulere, but her heart was rich with compassion. She took Kyoma to her home, fed her hot jollof rice, and listened quietly as Kyoma poured out her story of pain, betrayal, and endless struggle. When Kyoma finished, Mama Grace smiled softly. My daughter, I have seen women rise from ashes greater than yours. Your pain is not the end, it is only the beginning. She told Kyoma about Grace Foundation, a charity she had helped build for women in crisis. The foundation provided training, counseling, and small grants to help women rebuild their lives. Kyoma hesitated, ashamed of her reputation as a thief. But Mama Grace reassured her, in this place, no one will judge you by your past. Only by what you choose to become. For the first time in years, Kyoma slept without nightmares. She didn't know it yet, but her meeting with Mama Grace was the turning point that would change her destiny. Oh. At Grace Foundation, Kyoma joined other women who had suffered in silence, widows, single mothers, and victims of abuse. She listened to their stories and realized she wasn't alone. The foundation introduced skill programs, tailoring, catering, trading, and business management. Kyoma enrolled in a basic business and negotiation class. At first, she doubted herself. But during a mock exercise, when others struggled, Kyoma shone. Her ability to calculate quickly, persuade logically, and think strategically stunned the trainers. Do you have experience? The instructor asked. Kyoma shook her head. No, sir. I only had to survive. Mama Grace noticed her gift. You carry leadership in you, child. You just never had a platform. Encouraged, Kyoma began dreaming bigger. She thought of the transport struggles she faced moving her siblings to school. She thought of the thousands of Lagosians stuck daily because of unreliable buses. An idea started forming in her mind, an idea that could change her life forever. Oh. Months later, Grace Foundation announced a grant competition, 1 million Nigerian nairas for the woman with the most innovative business idea. The room buzzed with excitement. Kyoma's hands trembled as she wrote down her proposal, Kyoma Express Logistics, affordable and reliable transport for everyday Nigerians. On presentation day, she stood before a panel of judges. Her voice shook at first, but then she remembered her siblings' faces, the nights of hunger, the humiliation she endured. Fire filled her words. I know what it is to walk miles because you can't afford transport. I know what it is to lose jobs because buses break down. My dream is not just profit. My dream is dignity, for people like me. The hall erupted with applause. When the results came, Kyoma was declared the winner. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. For the first time, life had rewarded her hard work, not punished it. That evening, her siblings danced around their tiny room, chanting, Kyoma Express. Kyoma Express. It was the first time hope had entered their home in years. With the 1 million Nigerian Nairas grant, Kyoma bought 2 fairly used buses. She painted them bright green with bold letters, Kyoma Express Logistics. At first, passengers laughed. Who is this small girl running buses in Lagos? Drivers mocked her, saying, she'll be out of business in a month. But Kyoma refused to back down. She woke before dawn, personally inspecting the buses, paying drivers fairly, and treating passengers with respect. Slowly, word spread. Her buses were reliable, her fares fair. Within months, Kyoma Express was the talk of Surulere and Yaba. Even her former colleagues at the law firm noticed. One junior lawyer whispered to another, isn't that the same cleaner? See her buses now. Kyoma walked with her head high. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving, she was building. Oh. One evening, as Kyoma supervised her buses at Ojalegba, a sleek car pulled up. Out stepped Kunal, the junior lawyer who once defended her. His eyes widened in shock. Kyoma? Is this really you? Before she could respond, his mother stepped out of the car. The same woman who once humiliated her now stared, stunned. You? The cleaner girl? How is this possible? Kyoma smiled politely. Yes, Ma. I was a cleaner. But now, I'm the CEO of Kyoma Express Logistics. The woman's face twisted with disbelief. She turned to her son. Kunal, let's go. But Kunal lingered, pride in his eyes. You've proven everyone wrong, Kyoma. I'm proud of you. That night, Kyoma reflected. The same streets that once saw her mocked were now watching her rise. But she knew this was only the beginning. Bigger battles, and bigger victories, lay ahead. Oh. Kyoma sat in her new office at Kyoma Express headquarters, staring at the framed newspaper article on the wall, From Cleaner to CEO. The journey had been long and bitter, yet somehow she had survived. But success did not erase scars, it only attracted new storms. Her uncle barged into the office without knocking. He was dressed in agbada, gold chains glittering against his chest. His voice was sharp, arrogant, and entitled. So, you think you've arrived? You think money makes you bigger than me? Kyoma stayed calm. Uncle, what do you want? He smirked. The house in Enugu. It's still mine. You know it. But since you're making money now, let's negotiate. Pay me 10 million Nigerian Nairas, and I'll leave you alone. Her chest tightened. Memories of the night he threw them onto the street flashed before her eyes. The rain, the humiliation, her siblings clinging to her as neighbors whispered. She clenched her fists, fighting the urge to cry. I owe you nothing, she said firmly. He slammed his fist on her desk. You're ungrateful. If not for me, you wouldn't be this strong. It was my wickedness that made you who you are. Pay me, or I'll destroy your name again. Kyoma stood, her voice steady but fiery. You destroyed my childhood, but you will not destroy my future. The chains you used to bind me are broken. Get out of my office. Her uncle froze, shocked by her boldness. She pressed the intercom. Security, show this man out. As guards escorted him away, Kyoma's hands trembled, but inside she felt a surge of strength. The little girl who once begged for mercy was gone. She was no longer chained by fear. Oh. When the invitation came for Kyoma to speak at the Women in Business conference at Eco Hotel, she almost declined. She still doubted herself sometimes, wondered if she was truly ready to stand among elites. But Mama Grace insisted. My daughter, your story is not yours alone. It belongs to every woman who thinks pain is the end. Go and speak. The grand hall glittered with chandeliers, filled with CEOs, politicians, and young women with notebooks ready. As Kyoma walked to the podium in a tailored Ankara gown, she felt eyes on her. Some recognized her from the papers, Others only saw a confident businesswoman. But Kayama remembered the girl who once scrubbed toilets in that faded black skirt. She remembered the Lagos lagoon, where she almost ended her life. Her voice wavered at first, but then it grew strong, fueled by years of pain. I was once a cleaner. I was mocked, accused, and humiliated. People told me poverty was my destiny. But I refused to let pain define me. Pain is not the end. It is only the fire that shapes you for triumph. The room erupted in applause. Some women wiped tears. Journalists scrambled to capture her words. After her speech, young women lined up just to touch her hand, whispering, "You give us hope." That night, headlines across Lagos read, "Kayama Express CEO delivers moving speech at women's conference." Her story was no longer hidden in shame, it was now a public victory. A week later, Kayama received a visitor. When the receptionist announced the name, she almost laughed. It was Tolu, the arrogant son of Chief Aide Banjo, the man who once spread lies to destroy her. He arrived in a sleek Mercedes, dressed in designer clothes, but his eyes betrayed worry. His company, it turned out, was sinking fast. "Kayama," he said smoothly, "I came with an offer. Let's partner. My company and yours, together, will dominate Lagos transport." She leaned back in her chair. "Why me?" "Because you've built something strong," he said, forcing a smile. "And I have connections. We can make billions." Kayama studied him. Years ago, his words had shaken her. Today, they made her laugh. "You once said I would regret refusing you. Look at us now. I refused, and I regret nothing." His smile faltered. "Don't be foolish, Kayama. This is business." She stood, her voice sharp. "Business is built on trust. And I can never trust you. My success is not for sale." He left in silence, his pride shattered. For the first time, she realized the sweetest revenge wasn't shouting at her enemies. It was standing tall enough that they had to bow. Oh. Despite her triumphs, one dream burned in Kayama's heart, reclaiming her father's house. It wasn't just property, it was a piece of her soul. She hired lawyers, filed documents, and endured months of court hearings. Her uncle fought back, but his forged papers eventually crumbled under scrutiny. One morning, the judgment came. The house legally belonged to Kayama and her siblings. The day they returned to Enugu, the entire neighborhood gathered. Some were shocked, others ashamed for mocking her years ago. Kayama walked through the familiar gate, her siblings at her side, tears streaming down her face. They entered the living room where their father once read bedtime stories. Her brother whispered, "We're home again, sister." Kayama knelt on the floor, pressing her palms against the tiles. "Papa, Mama. I kept my promise. We didn't die on the street. We came back." Neighbors applauded, some even knelt to apologize. For Kayama, it wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity. The circle was complete. Months later, Kayama stood before a massive crowd at Tafawa Balewa Square during a national women's empowerment rally. Cameras flashed. Banners waved. Her story had become a beacon beyond Lagos, beyond Nigeria. Her siblings sat in the front row, pride shining in their eyes. Mema Grace, now frail but smiling, sat in a wheelchair, her hands raised in blessing. Kayama lifted the microphone. "I was once mocked, beaten, and left to die. They said my pain would never end. But I refused to surrender. And today, I stand here to tell every woman, every man, pain may last for a night, but triumph always breaks the chains." The crowd roared, chanting her name, "Kayama! Kayama! Kayama!" As she raised the Grace Foundation banner high, she felt it. Her scars were no longer chains. They were medals of survival. She wasn't just a survivor. She was a victor. Her pain had looked endless. But triumph had broken the chains.